Welcome back, guys. We got part 3 of the greatest general in history, who is who?
Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great has been putting on a clinic and taking over Persia and Greece.
Yeah, at such a young age.
Repping for the Macedonians thus far. And, he's been in a couple of battles, had to get himself out of some sticky situations, has some great generals with him as well that we've seen thus far. But he's not stopping. He's pushing forward.
He is not taking any peace offerings. He wants to apparently take over the entire world.
Yeah. And he's starting with taking over the entire empire of Persia. That's what he's working towards right now. That's where we've left off anyways. But it's been great, really informative thus far.
Yeah.
Learning about Alexander the Great, hearing so many things about how he was such a great leader, but seeing it now in real time. Well, not real time, you know what I mean. Seeing
a play-by-play.
Yeah, seeing him go through this process is pretty mind-blowing. But let's continue and see what he's going to do next.
Epic history.
In 334 BC, Alexander, 21-year-old ruler of the small Greek kingdom of Macedonia, led an invasion of the vast Persian Empire. It seemed impossible odds. But thanks to Greek military dominance and Alexander's fearless leadership, he won 2 great battles against the Persians, at the river Granicus and at Issus. Having subdued Persian lands west of the Euphrates River, he now headed east into the empire's heartlands, seeking a final showdown with the Persian king, Darius III. Receiving news that a great Persian army led by Darius had assembled at Gaugamela, near modern Mosul in Iraq, he made straight for it. This was Darius's last chance to stop Alexander, and Alexander's chance to smash Persian power once and for all. Darius had chosen to fight on open ground, where his advantage in numbers would be more telling. His soldiers had also worked hard to clear and flatten the terrain to make it suitable for Persian war chariots. By modern estimates, the Persian army was between 50 and 80,000 strong, and made up of contingents from across the empire. Infantry from Syria and Babylonia, cavalry from Armenia, India, and Central Asia, up to 200 scythed chariots, even a handful of war elephants.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy.
Alexander's army was smaller, and may have been outnumbered by as much as 2 to 1.
Going theme here.
He deployed his units in their usual formation. On the left flank, Thracian and Thessalian cavalry, commanded by Parmenion. In the center, the Macedonian veterans of the phalanx, each armed with their 18-foot sarissa pike. On the right flank, Alexander with his elite cavalry, the companions, and his best infantry, the hypaspists. These were the units with which Alexander planned to launch his main attack. Greek hoplites formed a second line and supported both wings, which were angled back to guard against encirclement by the Persians. The battle began when Alexander led his wing out to the right, a move that took the Persians by surprise. Could Alexander really be trying to encircle their huge army? The Persians mirrored his movement, taking troops away from their center to outflank Alexander and prevent him leaving the area they'd cleared for the Persian chariots. But Alexander's unusual maneuver was a trap to entice the Persians to weaken their centre. When he saw that it had worked, he ordered his Greek cavalry to charge, to keep the Persians fixed in position. A giant cavalry battle developed on the right wing. Darius, meanwhile, judging this to be the decisive moment, unleashed his chariots. But expert Agrianes javelin throwers took out horses and crews, while the Greek infantry opened lanes, allowing the chariots to pass harmlessly through. Now Alexander led his companion cavalry and parts of the Macedonian phalanx in a headlong charge, straight at the weakened Persian centre, fighting his way towards Darius himself.
So crazy. Just like the tactics, how the tactics play such a huge role, and one mistake or one decision can alter the entire battle. And, you know, I can only imagine what's going through your head as a soldier taking part in it, or a leadership role, or in Alexander's case, you know, he's thinking, okay, we're going to do this. And then as you're going through the process of doing it, you're hoping it works.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, if this doesn't work, we're screwed. But, you know, obviously he's trying to think a couple of chess moves ahead. We're seeing that here. And, you
He's
know,
playing chess, they're playing checkers.
yeah, well, one move's going to lead to the next move, right? Like we saw in the beginning there. Okay, we're going to go to the right flank, so we're going to draw some of the structure away from the army, and that's going to reduce certain areas that we can then attack. And so it's like, okay, you know, he's clearly thought this out, you know, with his other members within his group, saying, okay, this is how we're going to approach this. When this happens, we're going to do this, because there's no forms of communication, really, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to kind of know what you're going to do before you do it. And that's what I'm saying. You got to, on the one hand, you know, Alexander has done something to provoke a response, but the response is coming from Persia, right? So they're reacting, right? So that allows him to have the upper hand, because they're reacting. They don't know what
they're like reacting to what he does,
where
opposed to working out their own strategy.
Right, exactly. They've already said this is what we're going to do. And so when I go here, they're going to go here, you're going to go there, right? So the other side is reacting to everything, putting them at a disadvantage. And that's so critical, because you can't communicate with each other in this time period, right?
Yeah, I also found it interesting that like they had such a large unit using chariots on the Persian side, because it's like, I don't really feel like that's the most effective fighting mechanism when you're fighting everybody on foot, because when you're driving, like these chariots have, like, I think they had 3 or 4 horses per a chariot, and you have the human standing in the chariot that you have to drive the chariot, and then how are you supposed to fight anybody while you're focusing on your horses running forward, making sure that you're driving the chariot properly, and you're supposed to be fighting people that are on foot that are out of the way. So it's like,
I think what they used to do, I could be wrong and you guys can correct me, is they would have a driver, but they'd also have somebody else with them. So they'd have like somebody with a pike or something like that that's like jabbing people as they go along.
Okay.
And, you know, so the driver is, you know, carrying the horses, and then there's somebody there that's basically protected by the horses and the chariot, so they can't get to them, and they can still like take care of them as they're riding.
Yeah, to me it just doesn't make sense though, because like your formation is all of these chariots beside each other, but you're not driving through anybody, so who are you going to be stabbing along the way, right? It's like they just moved out of the way and we're like, okay, bye.
Yeah, well, I think they assumed that they wouldn't have the maneuverability to be able to do that. And you know, but like you said, it's the little small details of Alexander thinking about this probably ahead of time.
And like saying, don't go in between them, like just move out to
exactly.
the sides.
Whereas everybody else is probably like, yeah, we're just going to run right into them. And they're like, well, let's just allow them to move by, and then we'll get them after that.
Well, that's another thing too, right? Like once they go by, they can't just like reverse. So like they have to literally turn their entire thing around and come back. Yeah.
The sudden ferocity of Alexander's assault threw the Persians into panic. The center of the army broke and ran. King Darius himself leading the rout. But Alexander's left wing was in serious trouble. Parmenion, facing a huge onslaught by Persian cavalry, was virtually surrounded. Indian and Scythian horsemen had even ridden through a gap in the Greek line. But rather than wheeling and attacking the Greeks from behind, they'd carried straight on to loot their camp. Parmenion sent a desperate appeal to Alexander for help. The king abandoned his pursuit of Darius, regrouped, and charged the Persian right wing. It was the hardest and bloodiest fighting of the battle, claiming the lives of 60 of Alexander's companions. Finally, as news of Darius's flight spread across the battlefield, the last Persian horseman turned and fled.
Again.
The Battle of Gaugamela was a stunning and complete victory for Alexander. According to ancient sources, he lost just a few hundred men, while the Persians lost thousands.
Wow. That's crazy. And they were outnumbered to begin with.
2 to 1.
That's crazy. Shows you the difference in their capabilities and, probably individually, but also, as we said, tactically made a big difference.
Yeah, and how you train your armies and everything, right? Also, this is the second time this guy's been like, all right, I'm out, bye. See you guys, good luck surviving.
Yeah, because he's clearly, not a leader. He's a ruler, right?
A little weasel is what he is.
It's a verdict from Sam, guys.
It's a little weasel.
And but you have the difference in the leadership, right? That's why you see his armies and him winning the battles is because instead of dipping and running and being like, to his buddy there that's struggling, he's like, okay, screw this, I'm not going for the glory this time around. I'm going to come save my who has been really important, right? Parmenion that's been critical to Alexander's success thus far. Yeah. And he probably knows that. And he's like, I can't lose these guys because I'm going to lose the battle and I'm going to lose one of my closest compatriots, right?
Preserve your strongest generals in your army.
Exactly. Right? But, clearly the other leader is not thinking the same way.
No.
But that's why he has probably such strong followers, right, that believe in him because they know he's not going to just leave him out to dry. His objective is to win, but not at all costs, right?
Yeah, and once again, right, as soon as the leader leaves, the morale of the army is completely done, and they're all like, if you're out of here, I'm out of here.
Yeah, why am I going to continue fighting?
Yeah.
Alexander had routed Darius's great army. And now the road to Babylon, the empire's main capital, lay open. The Macedonian king entered the great city in triumph, recognized by Persian officials as its new rightful ruler.
Wow.
So too at the city of Susa, where Alexander ceremonially took his seat upon the royal throne of Persia.
Taking over Persia.
In the Zagros Mountains, at a pass known as the Persian Gates, a courageous Persian force held up Alexander's army for a month. The Greeks eventually found a mountain path that bypassed their position, allowing them to encircle and wipe out the defenders. In early 330 BC, Alexander reached Persepolis, the empire's ceremonial capital. Alexander wanted to appear as a liberator to the Persians, as a legitimate successor to King Darius. But now he ordered Persepolis to be pillaged and burnt. Retribution for the Persian invasion of Greece and the burning of Athens' sacred temples in 480 BC. Alexander now headed north into Media, where Darius had taken refuge in the royal city of Ecbatana. Alexander was determined to capture Darius, but the fugitive king fled east in the hope of raising a new army in the provinces of Parthia, Bactria, and Sogdia. It was not to be. As Alexander closed in, the Persian king was murdered by one of his own governors, Bessus, who then proclaimed himself the empire's new ruler. Alexander gave orders for Darius to be buried in the royal tombs of Persepolis, alongside his ancestors. Then he paused to organize his vast new empire. Alexander appointed viceroys to rule the provinces on his behalf, keeping several Persians who had sworn loyalty in their posts. Then he resumed his march east, his goal to find and kill the usurper Bessus, subjugate the empire's eastern provinces, and reach the far edge of the world. Research and artwork for this video comes from Osprey Publishing's extensive range of books.
Osprey Publishing, Epic History, always doing a fantastic job. Make sure you guys check out their channel. Just don't watch too much stuff without us, because we plan on doing more from their great channel. The plot thickens, as I said. Alexander has continued his journey across Persia, and successfully, I may add. He is crushing it.
I'd be really curious to know, like, I have absolutely no idea the answer to this, but at this time period, what was known as because they said he's going to the end of the earth, right? But it's like, obviously at that time, unless you were an explorer or a conqueror, like, you don't really know how far things go, right? Like, there's no way to communicate with lands beyond, right? Unless you physically go there. So it's kind of like, I wonder what they thought at that period of time. Like, he's trying to conquer all of Persia, but it's like, did he even know what was beyond there?
Yeah, well, I assume, there was cultures that hadn't met at that point yet, right? Between, like,
which is interesting to think
Asia,
about.
deeper into Asia.
That's what I mean. Like, he probably didn't even know where he was going. He's like, I'm just going to keep going until I can't anymore.
Yeah, they didn't know how big the world was at that point, right? But clearly Alexander was just a next level leader at 21 years old, being able to do all of this, and
also to keep all of these people in line. Like, that's a lot of territory right now that he's reigning over. It's like, how do you keep all of that under wraps while you're gone, right?
Well, I think some of that was his unpredictability, right? Because you saw in this, there were certain cities that he went into and he liberated them and just kind of, came in as a leader, took the post and said, okay, I'm the king now, and you guys are, going to be a part of my my empire. But then there were other ones that he went into and he just, demolished the whole place. So it was like, you didn't know what he was going to do when he came there. And so you didn't want to be on his bad side. And so many people that had challenged him had failed. So, it's like, you're going to take your chances, pick your probabilities of, like, what do I want to do, be on his side or against him here?
Yeah,
well,
that's fair.
Maybe it suits me better to be on his side.
Probabilities are not very good to be against him. So
anyways, I've enjoyed the 3 parts that we've done. You as well?
Yeah, it's been really cool and very eye-opening because I didn't know very much about him at all. So
it almost feels like we're watching a movie when we watch this.
It really does.
It's very, very cool. So
we
hopefully
might have to watch an actual movie about him later.
There you go. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it as well. Make sure you hit the like button. If you are, make sure you subscribe, notification bell. We are planning to do more history in the future. So let us know what you'd like us to check out next. I think a lot of you have been saying the Napoleonic Wars is a good one to check out from Epic History. So if you agree with that sentiment, then let us know down below. And make sure you have a great day. Come back tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.